Okay, so this is my presentation. Let me go ahead and get started. Okay, so my presentation is labeled Our Land, Our Future, and it's of course done by me, Stephanie Galindo, and I'm the Webb County cohort. So my presentation is a bill to establish land stewardship traits in children by including programs in primary schools. So this bill, essentially what I want to do is ensure that on a federal level, all kids in either elementary schools ranging from kindergarten to sixth grade are able to have that close bond with land. So that's the main reason why I want to do this. And then I do have a quote in it in my presentation. It says a close bond between humans and land is critical to ensuring the future of our ecosystem. Now, with every bill, there is going to be lots of questionings like who, what, where, and why. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and cover. So who will do this? So all primary schools should be required by federal level to include practical land stewardship activities in their curricular. So what exactly does it mean? As I mentioned previously, primary schools is defined as an elementary school ranging from kindergarten to sixth grade levels. So all of those kids will be required by federal law, meaning universal. So the government, just in the United States, not all countries, but the government in the United States, meaning all states, and also those territories and properties, will be required to include some sort of land stewardship activity in their curricular. And that could be defined any way that the school seems fit, because of course there is going to be some difficulties to implementing this. I mean, cities may not have access to land as a rural area might. So, and that's why it's going to be just simplified easily. So what will come out of this? So through activities like gardening, habitat restoration, and outdoor exploration, children will be encouraged to get their hands, feet, and faces dirty. So this will allow them to interact directly with the environment and gain priceless personal experiences. So from my experience, my most memorable childhood memories, of course, are being outside, whether it be playing with dirt, making mud pies, riding my bike and messing with the birds outside, the insects, or just being around grass and land and animals. It impacted my childhood with sufficiently, so that's why I believe children should also be able to experience that, because there are some school districts that don't allow children to be outside for a good at least 30 minutes. I mean, an example of like for me is my elementary school. Whenever I was in elementary, every day after lunch, we were allowed to be outside for at least an hour. But now that policy changed. They're only allowed to be outside for 30 minutes one day out of the week, which is detrimental, especially to the development of a child. So this moves on to when exactly will this happen? So this bill is time frame to go into effect on January 1st, 2026. So this offers primary schools enough time and resources to implement said programs. So funding, the way it'll be done is public funding is already done for schools. So with that funding, we'll be able to get resources for them, which won't really be required, especially for rural areas, because essentially they're just going to be outside with land. So the only schools that will be affected by this will probably be city schools, since they will have to get more funding to get their children to a rural area or a place that has land, which I think shouldn't be that difficult because some cities do have designated parks. Um, so that will be resonantly be easy to do. So where exactly will this take place? As I mentioned before, this is going to be on a federal level, meaning every school in 50 states will be required to participate, and of course the territories because they're part of the United States. Moving on, why should this happen? So I've mentioned this about countless amount of times. So reduction in outdoor activities affects a child's ability to become a responsible adult in the future by causing physical and mental development problems. So essentially, if a child isn't outside and is so glued to a screen or just inside all the time, it's gonna affect them physically and mentally. Mentally, by not allowing them to express themselves or just have another source of activity to do. I mean, if you're constantly glued to your phone, eventually you're going to get frustrated. You're going to either get depressed or angry or just not be so satisfied with your life. And this, if we have this happening to children so early, it completely messes up the way they form and become adults. As for physical developments, I mean, if you don't have a child outside running and playing, eventually it's going to lead to obesity problems, diabetes, or any other sort of physical development that could affect them in the long run. And how exactly will this happen? So there are a couple of agents of actions that I do have. Of course, the federal government, which is just going to be an umbrella term, the United States federal government. So that's just the general umbrella term. But when we get more deep into it, so under this plan, which will be overseen and enforced by the Department of Education, schools that do not adapt the curriculum could face consequences such as fines or loss of federal funds to guarantee compliance. Because we this is a pressing issue that needs to be enforced and ensure that happens. So that's why I have the Department of Education that is going to make sure that this is adopted. And of course, we do have some consequences if it isn't adopted, but I believe that with the enough time I have given and the time frame, it's not likely that these consequences will happen since it is a relatively easy bill to implement. The only one who will be affected pretty smallly is going to be city schools, but other than that, I think my bill is pretty well set. So now I guess I'm gonna talk about my experience as a land stewardship ambassador, which has been relatively awesome. So the Land Stewardship Ambassador program goals, this is just going to be a little promotion part. So the goals of the program is to increase awareness of land stewardship principles by promoting civil engagement in today's youth and inspiring students to obtain careers that support land stewardship. So this is why my bill is so pressing on the impact of children getting involved with land, because we have amazing programs like this that help them understand and appreciate land. So moving on. There are 2 main parts of the Land Stewardship Ambassador program, and it is the Whitney Museum and then also the East Foundation. So, the Whitney Museum inspires people to shape the future of Texas through relative and transformative experiences in nature, science, and culture. So, the Whitney Museum is also pretty cool. I mean, I've been able to go and view it and stuff, so it's pretty awesome. And then also the East Foundation, which is something that I'm really proud to be a part of. So they promote the advancement of land stewardship through ranching science and education. So I was able to there was 3 topics that we were able to pick, and I'm gonna go ahead and talk about them. So and this was through the LSA program, and it was pretty awesome. So it was the Whitney Museum weekend, public speaking, and the history of conservation. So the Whitney Museum was very favorable for me because I got to meet so many people from different areas, from San Antonio, from Hebbronville even, and also Laredo, and they were really awesome to work with. We all shared relatively the same ideas and perspectives and the need for land conservation. So I had a lot of fun being able to talk and communicate with people who had a deep love for land. Coming from a rural area, I mean, you do see that often. It's just it's very difficult to talk about it since it's always the same topic brought up and up and up. So it's awesome to see different perspectives, especially from San Antonio areas, which is a place that is a pretty big city. So being able to see like these people who grew up in not rural areas communicate and talk about such like things is very inspiring. As for public speaking, this impacted me a lot because I mean, I relatively thought I was a good speaker, so being able to kind of actually see firsthand that you could still get nervous and scared of speaking was pretty awesome. I did like the public speaking. As for the history of conservation, that one was very favorable for me because I was able to learn the history of where my land comes from. I mean, I live in Oilton, and there's not much history diving into Oilton because it's such a small area, but being able to see that the land that I live in now used to be so populated with people who wanted to take oil out of the land, which stems from the name Oilton. So that was pretty awesome to learn about. Moving on. So we are seeking applications for our next cohort, which is pretty awesome. Little promotion. So um, the deadline is November 1st, 2025, midnight. It's a spring semester, and you must be able to commit to all 10 sessions. And these sessions are pretty awesome. I've said that word a billion times, but it's the truth. I mean, it's a great word to label everything. Um, because the 10 sessions allow you to communicate with other people, and I made some awesome friends with this. Um, I there's a little demonstration of them right here, a little bit of pictures. So I mean, they've all been really nice people, and they all willingly communicate what they express and feel, so that's pretty awesome. And it's free to participate. I mean, you get a $400 stipend, which is pretty awesome. And then, of course, these are the financial supporters for the LSA program. So, yeah, that's my presentation, and I hope you liked it.